All right, y'all, we're taking a look at this Boudoir photography business. We're going to see if it has BSS for its local search, Naperville, Iowa, or for its city search, Naperville, Illinois, and its city search, Chicago, Illinois. And we're back here in the GBC universe where we're taking declining boudoir photographers to the number one boudoir photographer in their city. As always, our North Star is FSIC, aka full spectrum intent capture. If you want more info on that, yeah, somewhere, pin post, pin video on the profile. And it's our North Star because FSIC explains why all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. Those that are rising, they're probably bringing in peeps from the entire intent ladder, the intent spectrum, high intent here on the left to low intent way over on the right. Here we talk about the highest intent peeps, Google search, social media search, searching right now for a boudoir photo shoot in our city. So we talk about BSS. All the way at the other end, those are interruption ads like Facebook, Instagram. It's our other brand, Boudoir FB Ad Doctor, where we talk about BLCS. And right now over there, we're only working with boudoir photographers spending more than 10 grand a month on boudoir Facebook ads. So we're focusing on the two intent extremes right now. So here we're talking about BSS, which is Boudoir Search Sameness. That's when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google. 0 slots means if we're not on page 1, we basically don't exist. We're on page 2 or deeper. And we already know that approximately 80% of Google searches never go past page 1. So that's the bulk of the market, that's most of the market. And if they have zeros, basically if we're in 0 slots on page 1, we're basically invisible and we're going downhill pretty fast. 1 slot on page 1, Google is not good enough either, because every other boudoir photographer on there is also going to have most likely 1 slot. So, since there's 10 organic slots per Google, search page, the a buyer is just going to be clicking on everyone's website, contacting everyone, price shopping us against literally everyone, and as a result, we're actually going to, we're actually going to not stand out, be price shopped. People probably go to the lowest bid, all things like that. So boudoir search sameness, no bueno. We also know that 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google is not normal. Yeah, it's not normal to have such few number of slots for ourselves on page 1 of Google. Extremely common, but not normal. This is actually the symptom of 2 deeper root causes. There's 2 deeper root causes. One, basically everyone knows about, market saturation, and another one, basically nobody knows about, the false belief of page 1 equality. So first, market saturation, that's someone getting a new iPhone, then they're throwing up their Google My Business profile saying they shoot boudoir. Now they got a website saying they shoot boudoir, saturating the market. Or someone gets a new camera, now they're posting the mom groups saying that for boudoir photo shoots. So it's more sellers to the same number of buyers, driving down the price for everyone. And usually this results in other boudoir photographers kind of getting kicked out of the market, going bankrupt, closing down shop. Now, basically everyone knows that, and also a big thing that happened with that was COVID. A lot of people lost their jobs, still to earn money, became boudoir photographers because everyone's got a great camera on their phone, on their cell phone. And so that was another, supply shock, seller shock, way more sellers to the same number of buyers. It was when COVID happened. Now the not currently very known false belief of page 1 equality. That belief is that kind of every boudoir photographer gets, 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. And, maybe we had our website ranked on page 1 of Google, but then more boudoir photographers came in, kicked us down to page 2, and like, oh, that's simply that's simply how it is. Kind of just we simply gotta take what Google gives us. Hopefully that other person closes down and deletes their website so Google can maybe pull us back onto page 1, but it's kind of out of our hands. That's the belief of page 1 equality, whereas every boudoir photographer gets, either 0 or 1 slots on page 1, and that's simply how it is. But that's a false belief. I know that's a false belief because I went from 0 out of 10 slots on Google page 1 search to 9 out of 10 slots Google page 1 search in 10 days. Why? Because I knew page 1 equality is a false belief. And my hypothesis was Google would give me as many slots as I want, page 1 slots, as I wanted to put in the effort to acquire for whichever keywords I want to put in the effort to acquire them from. So that's exactly what I did, which we'll see those results in, whatever, 2 or 3 more pictures. So page 1 equality, false belief. We also know that boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness, so having either 0 or 1 slots, page 1 on Google, is a disappearing boudoir photographer. Because look, if you got 0 slots on page 1, we already know approximately 80% of Google searches do not go past page 1. So we're invisible to 80% of the marketplace. So yeah, we're definitely disappearing. For 1 slot on page 1, we're looking the same as everyone else. We're price shopped to death. We're disappearing as well. And this is kind of the canary in the coal mine, where BSS causes disappearing boudoir photographers, and basically all disappearing boudoir photographers also have BSS, what kind of is foreshadowing for the eventual disappearance of the entire boudoir photography business. So it's the canary in the coal mine. So we got to solve first. We got to stop the bleeding here. And luckily, we have a solution. Because we now have learned through extensive testing that BSS is treated with social search saturation. This is our S-cubed methodology. We invented it. You cannot get this solution from anybody else. And social search saturation is exactly what it says. We saturate social search with the highest intent search terms to show up there and kick everyone else out. These are kind of like, the smaller rivers that feed into the Amazon. And kind of when we do that successfully, that flows down into the Amazon, flows into Google. And many times Google will start giving us more and more page 1 slots for those more and more keywords we're ranking for in social search. That's why it's called social search saturation S-cubed methodology. We want to be saturating social search at all times, because if we're not, someone else in our city probably is. If nobody is, then we got the first mover advantage to do it. So S-cubed methodology, the magical thing about this is the only thing I've ever seen for boudoir photographers that can successfully fight against market saturation and essentially render it, null and void. Because imagine we're in Miami, Florida. Let's say there's 1 million boudoir photographers. Everyone's got a website for their boudoir photography business. They're competing for page 1 Google search. But let's say we take S-cubed methodology to the max. We rank for the first, 300 slots for the highest intent search terms for boudoir in our city across all the major social media platforms. So we saturate social search. We're there. Can't find anyone until slot 301 and after. As a result, we're saturating the first 300 slots on Google as well. Well, each page on Google is 10 organic slots, and so that's 30 pages. You gotta go basically any buyer's gotta go page 31 to find any of our 999,999 competitors, because we cranked S-cubed methodology up to the maximum. So, whose business is growing? Ours. Whose business is growing the fastest in the city? Ours, because buyers can essentially really only find us, because we're everywhere they look. Basically, we're gonna kick out, box out all the other competitors, and we already know, approximately 80% of Google searches never go past page 1, so they definitely ain't going to page 31. So this is what S-cubed methodology enables us to do for all those who want to put in the effort to achieve it. Now, once you're with S-cubed methodology, we have page 1 visibility. We're finally visible on page 1, even though if we had 1 slot there, we're not actually visible there because we look the same as everyone else. We get an added bonus to this where we're kicking competing boudoir photographers off page 1, effectively making them invisible. They get kicked out to page 2 or deeper. And again, we know approximately 80% of boudoir photographers, or approximately 80% of Google searches never go to page 2. They're page 1 only searches, which means page 2 and deeper is invisible, disappearing boudoir photographer, canary in the coal mine. Eventually, the boudoir photography business will disappear. So we achieve page 1 visibility once we overcome market saturation and page 1. We crash through the false belief of page 1 equality. And page 1 visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. So here we want to hit the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots on page 1 for local search and city search. Because when we're at 3 out of 10 slots, I mean, we've kicked off at least 2 to 3 other competitors from page 1. Also, compared to everyone that has 1 slot on page 1, we got 3. People are going to say, wow, why is Google recommending this person so much? They're going to auto-trust us more. And the very rare chance someone else has 2 slots on page 1, well, we're at 3, and so we're always beating them. So it activates boudoir search visibility for us. And a boudoir photographer with BSV is a visible boudoir photographer, a VBP. This is our micro universe here. We got disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness caused by market saturation and page one equality. We now have a solution now, S-cubed methodology. And as a result, we achieve page one visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility. Now onto my results I got using this. So I was using this, I want to rank for the term BLCS boudoir. And I use S-cube methodology. That's exactly what I did. And what I actually did was here, organic, we started spot one, we got organic slot one, we got organic two, we got organic. So slot three, me, slot four, me, slot five, me, slot six, me, slot seven, me, slot eight, me, and slot 10 is me. So I went from 0 out of 10 slots on page one to 9 out of 10 slots on page one in 10 days. And this is through utilizing S-cubed methodology that we invented that cannot get us from anyone else. We invented it, we created it. And so this is the power of S-cubed methodology. All right, now into the main event here. We're going to see this boudoir photography business, if they got BSS for either their local search of Naperville, Illinois, or their city search of Chicago, Illinois. So all right, let's see what we got. Let's see what we got cooking. So we're in Naperville first. So boom, we got one. We got one slot. Boom, we got two slots. All right, nice. So for local search, we do not have BSS boudoir search sameness. We got 2 out of 10 slots, but we did not meet the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 page one slots on Google. Next, let's go look at city search Chicago. Super competitive here. So let's see. All right, we want to see how many slots we got here. All right, we actually got 0 out of 10 slots for the city search. I mean, Chicago's super competitive, so no surprises there. So no BSS for local, yes BSS for city search, but for both local and city search, we did not meet the GBC recommended of 3 out of 10 slots in Google page one search. So if you are a disappearing boudoir photographer and you want to, so you've done the local searches, you've done your city search with the highest intent boudoir buyer keywords in your city, you're seeing you got 0 slots page one on Google, either one or both of them, or you're not hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots page one on Google for one or both of them, and you've accepted the belief, the false belief of page one equality is exactly that, a false belief, and you understand now that we can actually take as many page one slots on Google search as we want, and you see an S-cubed methodology is the only way, the only path for you to get you there, and you've been waiting for something like S-cubed methodology for a while, and you're liking the initial benefits, more slots page one on Google, and you really like kicking competing boudoir photographers off page one on Google, making them invisible to practically 80% of Google searches. You really like that one. Those initial benefits, sure. You understand the market saturation, yeah. New gear, new peeps, boudoir photographers entering all the time, getting more and more difficult over all the time. And you're seeing that you're actually looking ahead and you're seeing AI taking more and more people's jobs. And the last time that happened with COVID, people losing jobs, well, people still had to earn money. So they were actually forced to become boudoir photographers because, everyone's got a superpowered smartphone with a superpowered camera. So kind of the next natural thing, become boudoir photographer. And you're seeing that's going to happen in a much bigger wave over the, as AI takes more and more people's jobs. So not only do you need these slots on Google, you actually need like so many backup links that Google wants to rank on page one for you, but there's not enough room, so they're ranking you page 2, 3, and 4. Like basically you need to fortify your positions on page one with like so many backup links that no current competing boudoir photographer ever has any chance to rank on page one, nor any future competing boudoir photographer who came in because AI took their job can ever have a chance of ranking on page one. and kind of like fortifying your position, kind of like fortifying the levees down in Nolens, Louisiana, the lowest, because the city is actually below sea level. And you're seeing SQ methodology is the only thing that can help you fortify your position with so many backup links that are needed. You're also understanding that the SQ methodology, we're building up basically invisible thematic keyword columns around kind of attached to your brand name, business name, website name, social handles names, kind of like this whole, keyword cluster ecosystem in the back end of AI Mindshare. And every day we successfully execute SQ methodology and add to those invisible thematic keyword columns that we're actually increasing the probability we show up here in AI overview, the most premium placement out there that we cannot pay for, and Google can recommend us here. We're also increasing the probability every single day of executing SQ methodology that AI search recommends us. So it's ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini. Increased probability showing up in those searches every single day. We successfully execute SQ methodology. And last time I searched for boudoir photographer in a city, it was with ChatGPT and it displayed 3. And I went and manually searched on Google and Facebook, and dude, there were like 60. So you're saying, and I was like, man, we gotta get part of these slots any way possible. So you're actually wanting to all those feature benefits as well as estimated 8x faster growing a large well-known brand, to further insulate yourself from market saturation. And you also understand that my current plan is to work with only one boudoir photographer per city. And as a result, you're seeing you can get all these benefits and most importantly, build up so much kind of like back-end AI mindshare momentum with all these invisible thematic keyword columns attached to your brand and AI mindshare space that you are able to build up a gap so large that basically no current competing boudoir photographer can ever reach you, nor any future competing boudoir photographer coming from AI, because AI took their job, can ever catch you. So you decided to be a first mover in your city. Take advantage of this because the converse, whoever a competing boudoir photographer actually signs on with me first in your same city, means we're going to be kicking you off page 1, maybe even page 2. You'll be resigned to page 3 or deeper. And we'll be fortifying them on page 1, so your chance of getting back up page 1 will be close to 0. And the boudoir photographers come from AI taking their jobs, their normal jobs, and they have become boudoir photographers. That's always going to keep increasing, so it may push you off deeper into further and further pages. And we'll actually be building up a massive gap of AI mindshare, back-end AI mindshare with all these invisible thematic keyword columns that will probably be too large for you to overcome. And for you to overcome that, you'd have to actually rederive SQ methodology by yourself. Well, you'd have to derive it the first time, and you would never feel 100% confident you've derived it correctly the first time. Then you'd have to execute it every single day, same as us. But if you did all that, you'd simply be maintaining the gap, me and your competitor, that large gap, me and your competitor would have already built up against you. So in order to close that gap and kind of pull that invisible thematic keyword column back into AI mindshare towards you away from us, you'd probably have to double or triple our execution every single day. And it'll be difficult to put in that effort because, again, you're not going to feel 100% confident you've even derived the methodology correctly in the first place. And dude, who even has 80 days to do or 80 hours in the day to do all this stuff? So you're seeing all that and you're like, screw this. I'm actually going to be the first mover in my city, get the advantage, and lock out all my competitors from using this technology. So if that's you, shoot us a DM. Our DMs are currently closed. The hospital's not currently accepting new patients. But when our DMs do open, then shoot us a DM and we'll see if you qualify for utilizing S cubed methodology.